It's not just a male thing. It's not just a male thing. Making of pots. With this couple that make these pots, it's almost as if in alchemy, when the alchemists were changing base minerals, base things into precious. And that's actually what you're doing here. You've got base minerals and you're changing them into precious things. Always there was a man and a woman together at the furnace. And this you've got the typical couple here. David Slavovirsky and Felicity Potter are probably the alchemical couple. She decorates, he makes the pot. So he's the architect, and she composes the decoration. They probably did together. So there's this Zen thing. Very, very beautiful minimalist. There's a bit of copper red that really is yummy. You want to lick that. It's really beautiful. What this is called is worm track, and you'll see all the names are related to nature and being grounded. This is worm track, one glaze over the other, so it's a double dip, which is difficult to manage. But here you are, it's sublime shapes, and they're available. I know David makes pots for the wine industry as well, and there's a whole story.
How old is David now?
David is older than me, he's probably close to 70, 68, something.
Is toch eens een guy wat in Glen is?
Glen?
Ja,
I said Swellendam. So if you were doing a little pottery crawl, Swellendam. And then don't forget Christos.
Can I ask you about double dipping? Is it double dip and then fire once? Or is it?
It's bisque fire. I'm not sure if there's a bisque. Christo, maybe you can help me. Does David bisque fire? I would imagine he does, because these pots are difficult to handle raw. So they would be bisque fire, dipped once in the tenmoku, that's the tenmoku, the eye of heaven, and then either sprayed or dipped. No, actually, this could be a spray.
But not fired immediately.
No fire. One glaze over the other. You must know your glazes so that they don't peel off you. Okay, let me just move through here. On the corner has a little bunch of Ian Glennie's pots. There's two here. There's another one there. That one, Ronnie Watt has bought. It's got this amazing rapid throw ring up. That jug there was made at high speed. These pots are curious. I'm very curious about these two pots because I know Ian hasn't fired with diesel. But his son, who's also a potter, and this is a dynasty of potters that's starting to happen in this country now. You've got third and fourth generation potters. Ian has come back from them. He's done the most amazing resurrection job on himself. He blew all the tendons in his wrist trying to be at the pottery factory. So I suspect he had a bottle of whiskey next to the wheel. So he ended up with a serious paralysis from which he's coming back. Not for sissies. This guy innovated. He decorates himself. He's a highly collectible potter. I have an idea this was fired in electric kiln. He's now doing reduction firing in electric kilns. This is what Daniel tells me. And it's remarkable because you're emulating the things you see on that side. You're emulating now the modern material, modern kilns. I'll connect him up with Kathy Walters or David Walters because the two of them, around them was built $1 billion tourist industry in the Midlands. They started, this man and David Walters started the Midlands Meander, which followed on the one that was started in Johannesburg. That was the Crocodile River Ramble, started by Tim Morris. So these men actually have made huge contributions to the tourist industry. The guy that taught us the Zen of pottery, Steve Shapiro. I've got a collection. My most prized collections in my T-Bolt collections are the pots that Steve made. Steve was a journalist, a cycle rider. At one stage, he would decorate his pots with bicycle parts and spray through them. So he had these huge dishes in the museum in East London. There's a lovely big platter of his like this with kind of bicycle parts, and it's just his bicycle riding period. Steve, unbeknown, also the typical Zen pot with this lovely, beautiful, broad, open throwing where one can see the rapid movement up the side of the pot. Steve is also a winner of the Ingrid Jonker Prize for Literature. So Steve, being a journalist, wrote haiku poetry. So this collection of haiku poems were published, and he won the top literature prize in this simple potter. And he pretty much taught us about Zen, did Steve, the Zen and art. I have two of his haiku in my head. Through a hole in the broken tent, the Milky Way. So it's 17 syllables, it's a strict measure, 17 syllables. It has to have a reference to the area, a reference to what was being done and said at the time, and to nature. The other one, which is rather rude, is in Afrikaans. They wrote in Afrikaans, where someone is having a real connection with nature, probably squatting down somewhere and being in a lowered position, you would be able to connect with nature in a much better way. So it's in Afrikaans. It says, Boskap besig. En 'n bietjie verder, 'n paar santioene. So this is Steve Shapiro. He said Afrikaans. He said Afrikaans can hold better concepts than English. English is too overworked. Afrikaans is a nice new language. So let's move along. My old friend Graham Bolden, who's just perfected the Japanese brushstroke, is truly an example of the Anglo Oriental tradition. Well, probably goes back, is harking back to the Chinese pots of probably the 16th century. These are very intricately worked. This is a hard-working man. He puts so much into these pots. Okay, we're going to move along. There are still the collector. You know, Ronnie Watter's been through the place, so he's got quite a few pots in his collection. But there are some really beautiful pots. This is a potter's pot. Piece of Graham Bolland. So there are lots of pots still available. Now here's Yogi de Beer, also with the copper red. Now this for Yogi is a small pot. He's also making pots for the wine industry. Now Yogi assisted Heim for many, many years. Heim would say, if you said to Heim and he died in 2007, if you said to him in 2000 and he had his assistant Namagilu was there who couldn't breathe and Heim couldn't see, so they would shuffle around the studio very slowly, and if you stood at the door, you could see this happening. They would just ignore anybody at the door, so that for politeness you just stood at the door. These two oldies, Heim was 80, Namagilu was not much younger, would shuffle around the studio and produce a huge body of work. It was quite astonishing, of vibrant, really alive work. But Heim said the clay pile was over there in the corner. And he said, no, it's still got enough clay. You would look at it. But meantime, Yogi de Beer was putting tons of clay down when they weren't looking. So for probably 10 to 15 years, Yogs made clay and he took clay to Heim and put it in the clay corner. Not a word was said between Heim probably didn't know. He said, oh, there's some clay there. Let's make pots. So marvelous generosity. The big pots that I see of Yogs are now 600 liters. They're that big. man-sized pots, and they're being made for bouquet wines, and they are very fine pots. He was telling me oak barrels retain some of the previous batch. The stoneware pot, you can put a steam hose in it and get it really clean, and so you can make a really new, fresh batch of wine. So that's Yogi De Beer, was named by Steve Shapiro as Yogi De Beer because he's this big, huggable fella, and it's actually Andre De Beer. It's not Afrikaner. Okay, so
technically, how is that
yes,
thrown?
yes.
Sections or you
Thrown into sections.
Well,
Big sausages about that big. He's got a plug mill that he extrudes sausages, and he'll put it on. And you see, Digby uses this device. If there's some slight cracking at the joint, which is not serious on a pot like this, it will be disguised by these rings. This is ancient. This goes back to the ancient water pots of the East and of Europe, of the Greek pots. This is an ash glaze. So there's a recycling potters are the recyclers that are archetypal recyclers. Read the Bible. Nothing is lost. So the ash from the making the fires would be put back into the glazes, and you 50% ash, 50% clay, and you have a glaze. The Egyptians invented that. I use ash glazes. So let's move on. Sorry, if I'm going a bit fast,